How long will it be frozen? The operation here, you have no idea. I should do it behind the scenes, but you don't want to see it. You don't want to know. Welcome back, Artist Journal, June 18th, 2025. Broadcasting from the inner half of the nervous system, my name's Adrian Pocobelli, theoretically refreshed from the big visit to Greece. I kind of, it's always good to take a step back, isn't it? It's wonderful. I've done it many times here. And just to kind of reflect, kind of forget about everything. You know what it's like? It is like going to, working on an art piece, and forgive the Frozen video here. I have a meeting with Cap'n, actually, in a second. More on that in a second. Shortly. So I have to just make this work for us. But it's like an art piece. You're working on your art piece, you think you know what it's about, and then you come back 2, 3, 4, 7 days later. You open up the art piece and it's brand new for you. And that's kind of what this is. It's contrast to a certain degree, contrast in experiences, contrast of consciousness, dare I say. We are back. All right, awesome. On Cap'n, there's tons going on. We have a sponsor. It is the first time ever. Not Cap'n. But we have a sponsor, Decentraland. They have an open call. I'm going to talk about it in a few minutes here, right before the comments, and kind of an exciting opportunity. So, yes, our first sponsor here. So big shout out to Decentraland. We'll talk about them shortly. Also, Cap'n. So the Pokabelli collection, what was formerly known as the Pokabelli Gallery, is the Pokabelli collection. We did the show with LB. We have a few shows in the pipeline. Actually, I'm pretty excited about all of them. This one, Cap'n did something special here. So I have a meeting with Cap'n in about an hour and 23 minutes. So a hard cutoff here, wonderfully. And I think that's it. So we hope to have that, I think it might be as soon as Monday, that we're going to launch this show. So I guess we'll see after the meeting, but that is our tentative plan. So be on the lookout for that. That will be on Object, but it'll also, I don't want to spoil it. It's not just going to be your typical art show. It's very exciting. So that is happening too, and so I guess we should just get into it here. Thank you everybody for the patience. It's not a news show, right? It's a journal, so in a sense, you do it whenever you can. But I do, once I am in the groove, I do like to keep a consistent schedule. But once again, these contrasts of consciousness, these conversations really that we have are immensely valuable to me. And taking breaks is a part of that. So I'll just say, welcome back. Now, you would think with all of the works that were available for me to look at, that it would be a hard decision. It wasn't. And I only spotted this one yesterday. It was quite an easy decision. And it's kind of something that I don't think it's the first time. In fact, let me go back 5 steps here. I don't think it's the first time that this has been approached or attacked, so to speak, what's going on here. Now, as far as I understand, the artists themselves, as far as I understand, this is taking Edouard Manet and going stable diffusion, make me a Edouard Manet type painting, and then someone, I don't want to get the name wrong here, but someone basically saying, let me get the name, and then Cynthia Daigneault saying, as far as I understand, and we'll read up more on this in a second, basically saying, make me a variation or whatever it is, and then getting out the paintbrush, getting out the tools. I don't know if it's oil on canvas. It'll be interesting to look. Hopefully we can find out. But it would kind of make sense to do oil on canvas since Manet was working oil on canvas, wouldn't it? And so getting out the paintbrush and then using that as a source for the painting. And quite beautifully executed. So familiar but unfamiliar. And now, it's not the first time that we've seen this, so I think. There is, I believe the name of the artist is Glenn Brown, who I recently saw the work at the big gallery here, whose name is escaping me right now. I go there all the time. The gallery here in Berlin, Max Hetzler. They just had a very expensive Glenn Brown there. I think above $1 million, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that, though. I think it was above $1 million for that Glenn Brown there. So, all to say, and I think Glenn Brown, I haven't read all of the texts on Glenn Brown, but what I see is Google Dream and the GAN type of early AI being incorporated into painting. And I think that's what we're seeing here with Cynthia Dayno, and so beautifully painted, I might add. And not, I had never heard of Cynthia Dayno, but is showing at, I think it's the Los Angeles Museum of Modern Art. Someone who's pretty, I guess we'd say established. They're with Night Gallery too. It's funny, Night Gallery. I went to a few. I haven't been to LA. I don't even remember. Was it 2011, 2010? The last time I went to the first and the last time I went to LA. And I did end up going to an opening of Night Gallery, which is a pretty, even still, hot gallery. Amazingly. And so this is part of that show. I believe they are still based out of LA, but this is, let's read what it says here. As part of Super Bloom, our ongoing exhibition at Arsenal Contemporary in New York, we are thrilled to show work by Night Gallery artist Cynthia Dayno. Here it is. Cynthia Dayno's Stable Diffusion 2 actualizes a found AI-generated picnic scene in the style of Manet, as a real oil-on-linen painting closing the uncanny loop. Indeed. And I would put it much simpler. How does oil on painting, or even what we might call traditional painting, remain relevant in the present age? And it's to incorporate, really, it's doing what the pop artists did, which is, with the Ben-Day dots that Roy Lichtenstein would use, or Warhol with the screen printing, right? It incorporates the processes, the visual language, so to speak, of the present. To kind of loosely quote Ballard, the visionary present, as he put it. So that is how you do it, right? And so when you're making, if you're making, put it this way, if you're making an oil painting in 2025, I would say you have two choices. In order to not seem like someone that's living in another time and place, you have two choices. You have remember the artist we've looked at quite a few times? You can take the content choice, and you can do like the McDonald's, Happy Meal, for example, or whatever the case was, or take, a Doritos chip bag, right? So you can take what you might call radically, I wouldn't even say radically, just contemporary art content, right? The ingredients of our visual lives to a certain degree. Or you could take the process ease of the present. So here we're using AI. Makes perfect sense to me. And all of a sudden we have a relevant art. We have art that speaks to us. Importantly, this isn't looking, as I like to say, at all those brown paintings from the 17th and 18th century that bore us to tears, at least speaking for myself. As we go through renowned galleries. And once in a while, there will be an artist that kind of pushes the limits a bit, changes the color a tiny bit, and then all of a sudden we go, oh, thank God. So it's interesting. So Cynthia Dayno, Stable Diffusion 2, 2024, oil on linen, photographed by Nick Macy. So we have some, they zoom in a bit here as well. So beautifully painted. And I love how they explain it, actually. So a real oil on linen painting, I love how they have to emphasize emphasize that. In 2025, you have to emphasize that it's a real painting. That is funny, but beautifully executed here. Now, I believe there are... This person seems like they're big enough where they have assistants, so it may not all be Cynthia Dayno in terms of the execution. One could imagine the idea, though, is Cynthia Dayno. And this is a thing, I would almost say, because we saw this, who else did we see this with? Jeff Coons, right? With his army of artists that I believe I showed it here. That may have just been like a bookmark from like 2.5 weeks ago, after I took my break. But basically, Jeff Coons, it's the same thing. It's like he comes up with the thing in Photoshop or whatever his tool is, probably Photoshop, I believe it is. And then he gives it to his team. And then there's the team, like 5 different people who are working on the painting. So there is kind of a, how would we put it? There is kind of a financial advantage, you could argue, that people who are making a lot of money from art would have in order to execute. But whatever. I mean, I don't think that's a problem, so to speak, because I think that idea, one could execute on their own. I guess the only sticking point, and I actually had this issue that I thought about, is how well are you going to execute it? In a sense, Jeff Koons can hire the best technical painters on the planet, right? Cynthia Dayno, hey, if they're showing, she's showing at some LA MoMA or whatever the case might be, there's probably enough money coming in where you can kind of get some really good technical painters. My solution to this, actually in 2016, which I never acted on, but I'm still curious, actually, I was making work on the phone. Right, and it was, I think, car ad number 2, which you can find if you dig up on Super Rare. Loved the work. I was super happy. Brilliant, I thought. I said to myself, wonderful piece. And I was like, since I like that piece so much, I was like, I would love to have a physical version. But I'm not sure, do I want to spend all that time and, spend a year of my life or however long it would take to try and emulate that? And is it going to be persuasive? And I thought to myself, maybe I should, offshore this and, send it to some, there are incredible technical painters as well as just painters in general in China. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen those images of like people trying to get into art school there, and you'll see like 1,000 people painting all at the same time for their test, and they're all probably, and many of them are probably super competent. And I thought, oh, maybe I could send it to China, for example, probably send it to Vietnam too, but for example, and maybe I could get my painting back, and even kind of conceptually fun, right? So there may be workarounds. I never did it. But I think it's still kind of, as I look at this and you consider the budget, can I have a full-time person or 5 people, a whole team of top people? No. But you could theoretically find a workaround. Anyways, here is the show. This is interesting. Let me see if this, please load, because this looks like a Clifford still, right? Now, is this all, Cynthia Dayno, the collection, 2024. So, I'm kind of discovering this as you are. Here we see another Manet. And I do have the artist statement, the springtime. I think something else is going on over here in these other works as the stable diffusion. Let me see. Now, it's not mentioned here. Let me just read a little bit of the artist statement here and actually make it a little bit bigger. Night Gallery is pleased to announce The Lemon, an exhibition of new paintings by Cynthia Dayno. This was October 2024 to January 20th, 2025. This is her second solo show with Night Gallery, following Elegy. And so The Lemon takes its name from Le Citron, which is French, a still life of a lemon of a dark plate, painted by Edouard Manet in 1880. So does it what are the boundaries of an artwork where one begins, another ends? In this age of screens and social media, we often think of a painting as its digital image alone, but the nature of any work stretches far beyond its 4 sides. So, anyways, before we get lost in some artist statement here, we had pretty much the best explanation actually right here. So the question remains, so here, this is Stable Diffusion. These other works in the show, it's not as clear if AI is involved. And because Stable Diffusion is actually the name of that Manet piece, we can assume this looks like a close-up, though, and crop of a different, very famous Manet of that woman at the bar. I feel like I recognize that. So interesting arts, and there is the woman at the bar. So interesting use of appropriation here. Reframing. This was super interesting too, which is, of course, I love text. I use it in the Secret History of World War III. I'm doing actually kind of a sub-series of that. And that's probably all I'll say about it until that's actually ready for the gallery, for the digital gallery. But this is super interesting. What is this? This is like an art history textbook. As you see, kind of, who does that remind you of? Wade Guyton? Anyone? And if we had more time, we're already taking forever here. 16 minutes in. We got to get to our sponsor. But as you see, interesting. Now, I wonder if it looks like it's painted text as well. Is this simulated? Is this kind of like that other painting that looks like Manet, but is not Manet? Who knows? So all very interesting. Final thing actually this is actually what I wanted to highlight on here. Dagnon is a painter of life right here. She depicts the world around her, but also the photographs, documents, and screens that permeate everyday life. Write the present, as the visionary present, as Ballard puts it. So here is what looks like another work in that series. I don't think this is called Stable Diffusion, though, interestingly. So let's leave it there. Pretty interesting artist. Let's move. Tezos Commons. I had a great, fun time. Thank you for the invite, Tezos Commons. So I did an interview with them last Friday from, I don't even know the name of the town. It's something like Parahelia Avlida, like the beach town of Avlida, and Avlida is the nearby town in Euboea, I believe, an hour and a half northeast of Athens. I dropped my phone hilariously during the interview. So anyways, it was a very fun time here. So thank you, Tezos Commons, and you can find that on their feed. And also thank you, everybody, for collecting 6 reasons to make your bed every morning. I was quite, mentioning our opening theme of coming back. I kind of made it. Well, I'd been making it over actually a few months, actually, coming back to it. But then I kind of finished it and I just posted it. Then I came back today and I was like, isn't that interesting? And what I thought to myself today, which I didn't really necessarily observe when I was posting it, is how wonderfully minimal this is. There's a kind of minimalism for me, because you can put so many different layers in here. It was quite interesting for me. So that was kind of an interesting thing. So thank you, everybody, for collecting here. RJ, Absurdeity, L'Inquisiteur, Diggy D, everybody. Ed, Neon Monk, Mikey Wilson, Feels, Brian, who is and everybody, who is a co-founder of Object, actually, was the first person to jump on. So making me feel loved. And also thank you, Hasdrubal Waffle, for picking this up on Secondary. And there was actually quite a few other things actually going on, I think, on Secondary. So all to say, I follow Ile and saying it to Ile. And thank you, everybody, for collecting the Jose Canseco. Lots to catch up on here. And also, this was awesome. Proof of Palm, the first week while I was gone, Absurdeity took our discussion on palm trees and turned it into a whole organic, pop-up event, as he puts it. Proof of Palm. Total artworks minted 250, 264 per object. Total artists minting 157. 2,284 editions sold, 6,400 Tez in sales. 206 distinct artworks by heart. So that is awesome. And I believe I brought it up here. I thought I would have a solution that I'd do a slideshow and just turn that into a video. It's a little trickier than that, though, because sometimes there are videos in the slideshow and it kind of, if there's a 2-minute video and everything. So I thought, I have way too much to do as it is. It's beautiful. So anyways, what a cool event. Just want to say thanks to Absur Deity for mentioning me in that. And look at that. So pretty beautiful works. Awesome work by Kiro. Can never have enough palm trees. I thought if there was a winner, I hate awards and prizes. Or at least put it this way. I don't like award shows like the Academy Awards. Let's put it that way. However, if I was to give an award, I think Martin Joe for pure hilarity. So all to say, I think I avoided showing these in the show just because I didn't want to show some and not others. There's a cool one by Sabato. So all to say, pretty awesome event here. So go to Proof of Palm. I think it best exists on like the blockchain where you can just see it straight up there. Let's see. Anyways, look at how many works here. So pretty rad it's a pretty rad work. I'm waiting for it to load here as we are almost at Decentraland here. You can check it out online. I mean, amazing. I tell you, it's very late in the day here for me recording this show. Let's get to our sponsor so that they hopefully will sponsor us again if they are happy. Decentraland, find your people, explore diverse events. So they have an open call. Many of you might remember Decentraland from the first 2021 bull run. I was looking at the coin. It's actually doing all right, 25 cents. And I remember it being at 5 cents, and then it went up to something crazy. Shall I look? Does it say? I actually had it up here. Anyway, it doesn't matter. They're not here to advertise. And we got to go before the video dies here. So, computer dies. Decentraland. They have an open call. Let me show it to you. And by the way, you can download their app here. Download from macOS or on Windows. So that is kind of the new version if you haven't used Decentraland for a while. They have an open call and they have money. Art Week 2025 get paid to create in Decentraland with awards of $2,200 for virtual art installations. The theme is Touch Grass, and it's going to take place September 24th to 27th. And selected installations will be awarded $2,200 US dollars in mana, the token, and exhibited for 12 months across underused parcels of land in Genesis City. I mean, I remember in 2021 watching on, I think it was Real Vision, the financial, for lack of a better term, podcast, where they'd have like real estate agents, virtual real estate agents back at the time. I imagine it still exists, but so all to say, here's the open call. Visual artists and curators, there are two. One is for visual artists and curators, no 3D skills required. And so I think there's a lot of people that could be interested in this. 10 selected proposals will be paired with leading 3D studios through Decentraland's Creator Connect program to turn the concepts into fully realized virtual installation in Decentraland. So you'll get $1,000, a collaboration with professional 3D studio, a featured location in Art Week 2025, and 12 months of live exhibition promotion across Decentraland's socials, the chance to host a live event. So this is the key information here. Deadline is Sunday, June 22nd. So there you have it. And finally, here is Sabato's work. So Sabato did this last year. I thought that was pretty cool. Of course, the trademark, is it capybaras? I've never heard of this animal before encountering Sabato's art. Here's people hanging out in Sabato's installation there last year. So very cool. And here it is. I'll put the links below. They'll be right at the top of the description. I'll put the links below. So thank you, Decentraland, for being the first sponsor. Here is the open call for artists and curators. Just hit apply now. And here's the one for 3D creators. So all you GLB artists out there, opportunity for you here. And you get $2,200. So that is cool too. And there is their socials if you want to learn more at Decentraland. So wonderful. Thank you again for reaching out and being our first sponsor here. Going to comments last show. So it's 3 weeks it has been here. Again, thank you for the comments and thank you for the support. Custom Horror, I can feel it, me feeling my vacation coming. New Ort, many great works indeed. It's pretty amazing what happens here. Wait till you see today. Kujeb, Sharo, aka Waffles, thank you, Poco. Have a safe and fun vacation. Indeed, it was safe and it was fun. I got a lot done. It was a working vacation, and it was awesome. K-Town Crypto King. Interestingly, and yes, probably, I probably say that word quite a bit, don't I? Grease Carrot, you're showing your age. Those are Pokemon. Yes, indeed. I imagine I am not a Pokemon expert, so perhaps even the little bags under the eyes there. I tell you, underslept here today as well. Loved that work by Lucas Bjornsson. Also on Twitter. Thank you for the support. Big support. 9,500 views. Excellent. Martin Bruce, thanks for highlighting Snake Graffiti, Adrian. It's so true that I'm not sure what will happen the next day. Haha, great show as always. Isn't that interesting? And I knew it. I knew it. Tornado Rodriguez. Oh, wow, that cover art. Indeed. As you see, Microsoft Paint there. Jan Lucas Magoni, great title, friend. Indeed. And what I loved about that title, actually, is how it just came up organically. It wasn't like I was out to, like, burnish a flag and tell everybody. It just organically came up. It's like, this is what this is. Thanks for the comment, Jan. Or always so fresh. I align myself so much with your art selection. Great eye. Quite interesting. I almost like there's almost something semi-objective in my own, but as it would be for everybody with their own opinion. But for me, it almost feels objective. Like I kind of go, it's like boom, 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 boom. I don't hum and haw over the merits of a work. I feel like it's that reptilian moment, and I feel like I know within half a second, unless it's really hard. You know, which we've seen, say, with early Waffles, for example. Thank you for the comment, and that's very interesting to hear, by the way. Hezribble Waffle, thanks, Poco. Wishing you maximum pleasant beach time, and thank you for that beautiful surfboard work. People were... I think we'll have a tab here, if we have time, hopefully. I gotta go quickly, but Waffles was, like, exploding there, as well as through his Pinstake account, as well as RJ. RJ, oh my god. So anyways, let's continue. Fingers crossed you get to the Nava show. Looks amazing. Yeah, actually, I already went. It was part of what was is it Gallery Weekend? Yeah, so I already went. It was at Pace. They opened a new Pace location in Berlin, which is pretty cool. And there's a lineup to get in and everything. It's kind of interesting. They put them. I probably would have done the same thing. I mean, they've had them beside some Basquiat. And I thought that actually made perfect sense. Still different. I think it's Roberto Nava. Dogami. Anyways, start watching. Thank you for the comment. Dogami, start watching your show nightly. And I love what you do for this space. Thank you. You're welcome. And thank you for watching. Yeah, it's all very interesting, isn't it? I love free speech. I love it. David Lockhart. Hey, another great show. Thank you. One observation I made and wanted to share. The piece titled Shukunoe by Renki caught my eye. It reminded me of one of Donald Judd's works. It seems yes a nod since the collector folder is called Judd. Very interesting. Great observation. Cheers. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful holiday. Thank you. And interesting observation. I'll have to keep my eyes out for that. Mulus Abs Art, GM Pokabelli. After all this time surfing on X, I just found a cool review of your work. Learned a lot from you. Awesome. Glad to hear. So glad I found this show. Razzie, so glad I found this show. I'm seriously hooked. Love how you dive into artists and their work. It's super inspiring. I'm glad to hear. Yeah, I try and keep it as edgy as I possibly can out here. That's why I started with, it was an easy decision what I started with today. That is spectacular, what is going on there, and so topical. Ruby Rhizome, great to hear from Ruby Rhizome, who I met actually in Florence, earlier this spring. It feels like a lifetime ago, doesn't it? Collector, great to hear from you. Awesome. Curator in the scene. Juniper Paisley, great to hear from you too. I hope everything worked out with the object art packs. One of our youngest viewers on the show. Big shout out. Ed Woods, Adrian so innocent, looks like a bird. They're minimalist Pokemon at 34 minutes. So another Pokemon so innocent. Yes, indeed. Descartes, greetings. I love your mention of unpredictability. Yes, an important concept in the arts. It feels essential in enjoying an artwork or an artist's output that alongside the common denominators. The unpredictability and the common denominators in the work of Martin Bruce are an especially good ride. Yeah, I agree. It's one of his, I have actually 4 or 5 works by Martin Bruce. What an exciting artist. He thinks with his eyes, as I like to say. Dr. Metron's Somatic Ether, thank you for the image. And Hona, Transmissional Line, Sunset Protocol engaged. Hilarious. Indeed it was. So, Art Basil. So we have about 40 minutes here, plus the computer may crash at any moment. So I have to go fast. Nevertheless, Art Basil, I believe, is happening right now. Art Basil in Basil. I thought this was an interesting report here, or website. Judith Benhamu reports a market between uncertainty and resilience, and I thought that captured it well. And here you see the Katerina Gross painting of the building. I actually thought this was pretty cool. I'm not a huge Katerina Gross fan. Sometimes I wonder about the color selection, but I may be completely missing things. But here it's just nice, and it's white and pinkish red, so it's pretty easy to consume. And I quite like the work, actually. And I think it just adds a lot of excitement and fun to your experience walking in there. And I just thought I would read a little bit here. Art Basil opened on June 17th, so that is yesterday. With its festive spirit, endless dinners, and an exceptional program of museum exhibitions held across the city, one might have thought for a moment that the art market was thriving in a euphoric bubble, shielded from the world's chaos. But that's far from the case. Just this weekend in L.A., Marion Goodman Gallery and would remain closed due to the safety and concerns of our staff. This probably following the National Guard anti-Trump protests across the California metropolis. At the same time, on the other side of the globe, an Iranian artist whose work is being shown at Art Basel documented bombs flying over Tehran on Instagram. Meanwhile, in Cairo, the Grand Egyptian Museum, whose opening had been planned for July 3rd, I think we mentioned this a couple of times, pushed it to the end of the year due to recent regional developments. All to say, the world, in a chaotic world, art continues. We can be happy about that. The search for meaning to a certain degree. Maurizio Catalan, so not sure what's going on there, who did the banana, of course. I thought this was quite interesting. September by Gerhard Richter. I mean, this is an older work, but where he brushed out the artist... Finding the image unbearable, the artist obscured the plane with a sweeping brushstroke. Yeah, quite moving. So all to say, I wanted to show more just of Art Basil Dynamisk, art influencer I'd been following literally since I think I moved to Berlin 8 years ago. Watched her grow her account. Anyways, so here, some kind of cool imagery of Basil here. So for all of us who are not there, here is your little experience. We rise by lifting others. I mean, in the contemporary art world, I don't know it kind of rings a little hollow. I don't know the artist here, but anyway, interesting. Some interesting stripes and a sculpture here, right? So some nice documentation from Dynamisk here. And yeah, so just a little taste of what you're seeing here. Again, I always get bullish on this scene whenever I go out and whenever I see what's happening. Weirdly, I'm kind of more excited about the contemporary art world than ever. I mean, that's a whole other discussion, but yeah, so anyways, full of contradictions over here. Let me just make sure to close that. Also, Vernissage TV with some coverage here. The artists, so again, we're kind of back to this helpers of the big artists, Is that Katerina Gross doing the painting? Maybe it is. That actually looked like maybe that was her. She pops up around in Berlin every so often. Look at that. So that's pretty cool. Maybe that is her. I think that might be her. So I was going to say, I mean, she has her assistants, but maybe she painted that. I think she might have, interestingly. Also, Vernissage TV, 1 minute, Art Basil in 1 minute. So here you go. I actually probably should have just let that play. Almost looks like a Coons there, but not sure. So there you go, just a quick look. We should also not just play this entire video, but this is Vernissage TV, just to give you kind of a taste of what's happening. And just making sure to jump through it for copyright reasons. Woman, I see Tezos at Basil. Bridging the gap between trad and digital art. Where's everyone else? Well, you know, I thought about it. Like I was saying, like, in a sense, you know, long story short, and I was kind of mentioning this, I think, the last few episodes, you know, where I'm excited as far as, you know, the art, I want to see the art that, like a lot of the art that I love, I'd love to see go into great collections out of the contemporary art scene, as much as newer collectors like myself collecting them, but it'd be great. So I'm not concerned, you know, put it this way, I don't think you need to self-consciously, okay, we have to bridge this thing. Let's just let it happen organically. So it's interesting. I mean, does that happen through the art or through business is the question. So, but interesting comment. Jedi Wolf, I haven't used Tez in a long time, but all I can say is this: while building a product, OpenSea should take notes from object.com. I think I may have said this like a couple of hundred shows ago. The UI and UX are absolutely stunning. Indeed. It shows great management, actually, as well as the designers. But it really shows that the management, I would argue, the owners, are making really good decisions. And that, you know, that's what it shows. It's clearly a platform made for collectors. It's a very nice platform, and it's original, actually, the font and everything. So, yeah, so I agree. NFT Lisa, so was Rodeo a waste of everyone's time, or did that free art change the game for you? I don't really have anything to say about this, but I thought it was kind of funny. Let's continue. Gora, this is really cool. Made a free app for dithering images and GIFs. So I keep saying this, like, watch out, artists making their own tools. It's going to get cool. It is going to get cool. So, of course, one of the low-hanging fruit is like a pixel art program or a dithering program. So it's getting pretty cool. Likely made with AI, but we don't know. Enigmattress. Works I did for the New York Times, article below. So Enigmattress, after doing works for Wired, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, now the New York Times, I mean, you really have to be impressed. This all happened within a year. Like even the style itself, as far as I could tell, because look at this. And actually, let's just look at the other image here quickly. Very nice. And it's on article on AI, interestingly. And so my very first ASCII exploration. So here are the early works, but you can already see it's all almost there. Interestingly, like it's early, but you start to really see some of the qualities that, as you see there, you know, using different kinds, using the visual ASCII, using the text and everything, even the subject matter. So interesting from Enigmattress. Also some beautiful images here. So continuing to evolve, real hustler, which is super important. You know, we saw it with Strange Thing. We see it to a certain degree with Oxine. It's important to hustle. Look at this. So just blanking out certain areas and then filling it in. Very nice work here from Enigmattress. And here also a new work. We'll see if we can make this larger. And we got to move fast. But here, just putting it black and white. So beautiful texture there. So really just coming along nicely. Xmortal, of course, I follow Xmortal. There's a glitch on X from the studio. Look at how cool that looks. It's almost a piece unto itself here. That looks pretty rad. So Xmortal in the studio. And Momo, also known as Deadly Yucca. Let's see if it loads up here. So we saw... Let me just close some of this stuff. Okay, so we saw... Remember the car driving? I showed it a few times. We had these colors. Well, here's the physical. Here's a physical 3D almost sculpture. This looks printed out. How cool is this? Even just the You see the pixels here, but then it's cut out with scissors, not trying to be perfect. Love that. Super cool from Momo. Here's Element Lee. This is super interesting. I bought a whole bunch of Element Lee, actually, recently on Tezos. How beautiful this is. Like in the sense of how original. Here we have some pixel art that's put on a piece of paper and then bubble wrap. Right, here's more. Just super duper interesting artist. I believe works on their phone, right? Just very interesting work there from Element Lee. We're going to see more this episode. Here's Hermipe with another physical of pixel art here, as you can see, and kind of has a little bit of a metallic area there. Very interesting as we move finally into the works here. Two Friends Agree. Great title. So Martin Bruce with some gorgeous work here on Tezos. And Two Friends Agree. The Myth of Aden, and Eva. And that went to 300 Tezos to Neon Monk. Here is Jungle Juggling. So just fabulous. Fabulous. Nothing like it. Absolutely nothing like it. Interestingly, as you're going to see at the end of the episode, near the end, encoding overloaded, consider turning down video. We're going to, gosh, should I stop it? Let's keep going. Jungle Juggling, Investigation. So Martin Bruce, look at this. This almost looks like tiles on a floor. But then they've been broken up and repeated. We have an incredible original art here that is being explored, and interesting kind of pixelation at work here too. We're going to see at the end, I think I was mentioning this before, we're going to see at the end a physical of some of the test drive, and actually just one. I think it's one of the test drive works. There's a whole show of physicals of Martin Bruce's test drive work. Look at this. True bypass. Just, you gotta love it. I mean, here taking Microsoft Paint and turning it into really just a gorgeous art piece. Steggy D, I believe, picking this up. 260 Tezos. $160. I mean, what a work. What a work here. Huge head turner. And let's continue. Another one. This one picked up by Neon Monk. So the great patrons of this scene here, some of them, Neon Monk, definitely seeing the beauty in what Martin Bruce is doing here. So just rad work here. And this is great too. So here's Yuri J. More rooms. So this is pretty cool because when you cycle through it, you see almost a similar structure as one does with sometimes with Yuri J's work. Look at how amazingly just textured and detailed these works are. Pretty spectacular, just full on texture here. And what's quite interesting, ironically, as I've mentioned before, it emulates quite well. Like, we get the same delight out of the texture here that we're seeing physically. Here's some more. A few more rooms. We're getting the same kind of delight that we have from the physical texture. We're seeing kind of comparable delights, so to speak, analogous visual delights here on digitally. So super interesting work from Yuri J. Look at this one, art making. Has this sold yet? Yes, it has, to Absurdity for only 250 Tesos. So great deal there. Awesome topic, and you just take a step back. It's like it's starting to get pretty abstract here, but you can kind of see maybe an artist. Is this, work? Is this a kind of canvas here? Not sure. Is this like an interior? So Yuri J, I think I saw a tweet where Yuri J was mentioning basically that he's gone crazy with the, of course I follow Yuri J, he's gone crazy with the textures. Here's another one. kind of in the same spirit, that looks like a plugin. Again, these kind of domestic interiors. Let's just make this larger for a second. You know, it's kind of pixelation, which gets almost smaller and larger. Again, so much has been applied to this that it really, you know, it's like a painting in the sense that it can never be reproduced. Yuri J could not reproduce this. Yuri J could do something comparable, something similar, but that exact thing, like, I don't think, like, it's kind of a, you know, there are so many steps in here, just like a painting. You know, you can make a similar painting, but you can't make that exact same one. So this is on object. So wonderful times here on art on the blockchain, as I like to call it here. And here a nice figure, new visual experiences here, functional training, great titles. We're doing well here, folks. Except to offer 85 Tezos. The market is nice. The market seems to be quite healthy. Like, the market is willing to pay, is what I've noticed right now. Times are good in digital art on the blockchain. The market is willing to pay. Enola Whipple. So this is another Waffles account. Love the Band-Aid here. That contrast created by that Band-Aid is awesome. So this is part of a quick, like a bunch of canvases that, I don't know if they were made quickly, but that were released quickly. And this went for 300 Tezos to Kells. So picking up, so Waffles market also, I'd say on fire. When you start putting out, as we're going to see with Pinstake a little later, when you start putting out editions of like 6 or 7 that are going for like $1,500 US, I mean, for editions that come out, that's a hot market. And so, as you see here, putting out a quick, 12 works. Love it. Enola Whipple. Here's another one, edging. And kind of looks like someone out tending the lawn here or something. So cool work here in their Speedo by Enola Whipple. This one going for 650 Tezos. So real money is starting to get made here. And I'm kind of back to this, original thought that I've kind of long discussed. It's like there's not many things to do with your crypto, I would argue. You can lend it out. I guess you can get some interest on it. But there's not like a ton of digital objects out there, but there is a digital art. And once digital art gets hot, I mean, there's a lot of money, so to speak, on the sidelines, to use like financial speak, waiting to get in. So it's pretty interesting. Forage. Like if the art scene thinks, or if the speculators and the investors think that, the crypto scene, if they think that your work is going to be worth money, like there is money to be had here, to be invested, and to be had from the artist's point of view. Cool work. I always love the multiple eyes with Waffles, and nice little point of contrast here. Almost the background, or like the underneath, the wiring below is getting revealed here. Cannon Beach. This is a nice piece by Scamra. So just taking a couple of highlights there. Scamra. Cool work. We're seeing more of these kind of frames that are just like we see with Nuv. I think who pioneered it. But sometimes I think the AI might just give these results. Of course, so here just the sides of what appears to be a frame. Look at how, again, we're kind of back to texture here, aren't we? Look at that sun. Look at this kind of you see pixelation, right? But it's so textured now. Again, I think this is stable diffusion. Textual inverters, if I'm not mistaken. It's so textured now that it almost, the pixelation feels like a reference point, not like actual pixelation. Like that, it's starting to kind of cross a threshold here where I just see more straight lines. And then I go, oh, because that's probably kind of a loose, rough pixelation, as I sometimes call it. I mean, look over here. Look over here. Can we zoom in anymore? This is a stunning work, and we're kind of back to, again, the color that occurred. Like, look at these textures here. Look at this. So, where does that leave us here? Like, and we think of our opening discussion, right? It's like, oh, here's my Manet stable diffusion, right? But okay, maybe Manet can be re-emulated, right? Your variation on Manet, or maybe a Jeff Koons can be done. Can this be done? I mean, you see the yellows, for example. I mean, theoretically, right? But when you start looking and the reason I mention this among many is, imagine you could get a physical of this. I mean, imagine you have a persuasive physical of this work. I mean, that would, and I'm sure it's going to happen. I don't know how, but it will happen. There's a lot wonderful things going on here. Of course, you have Inkjet, but Inkjet, maybe a little boring. Here's RJ. The Doge Father, picked up by Vincent Van Doe. RJ is another artist who has been completely blowing up here. All of these are making thousands and thousands of dollars. How much did this go for? 3.8, so $3,800, 1.5 ETH for RJ here. So of course, Elon Musk, it's a very sad case. So the first work on super rare now. So RJ is completely blown up here. And again, we see these kind of, pixels. I mean, you see, what I wonder, when I look at these works is, I don't know if, I assume AI is involved here. It has to be, one imagines. And just the prolificness that RJ is showing here. So all very interesting. This is a great work here too. The PFP. So that is a pretty nice work. So, I mean, putting out, I think, at least a work a day. So I assume there's AI here, but not positive. So anyways, impressive work. Did this have activity? Just transferred, so private sale. So things are going well for RJ. Here is Oxine, who of course I follow. Let's see if we can get, I believe this is a GIF. It is. So computer struggling here, as it usually does on these days back. If we get enough sponsors, I can get a new computer. So maybe I'll make a media kit. I actually have one online. I've just never really published it. But I think for anybody that's interested in sponsoring the show, I will send you a media kit. If you're interested, contact at pokabelli.net. So Oxine, look at this. This is great. I love I'm so superficial sometimes, but I'm sure some of you can even guess what some of my favorite part is. It's this. It's this huge open space. It's weirdly, I'd say it would be interesting before. Now it looks like art. It's what's with this huge gap on the right and the underneath? What's with this huge margin? Now it looks even more, it looks like 10 times more poetic. Interestingly. So kind of a different kind of work from Oxine. This was spectacular here. I couldn't find, I went to this website here. I'm not going to load it up because of my computer, but basically it didn't give you, it just had, I guess there's 55 works, as it says here, one full set. Yeah, so maybe once, I don't know if the reveal, I don't know how it works. But it would have been nice to just have the work where you could just make it large and everything. This is a spectacular work. Your live stream job interview with an AI manager. Again, topical, an art of the present. And what we're seeing here, more pixelation and AI as a theme. It seems to be kind of some sort of video stream, your live stream, as it says, a little bit of desktop kind of feeling over here. Then some, kind of mystical iconography, the key, the eye. At the bottom, you see what looks like the user interface, right? A video, stream video. Then we have the big pixels. And also where some of the work is dynamic or changing. You see the flashing areas here, and some of it is static, so we get a contrast there. And it looks like basically a podcast interview, right? And beautifully executed here from Oxine, and these huge pixels and everything. So, spectacular work from Oxine. Also, hilarious work from No Hygiene. massive fries with a face on it, and also picking up steam. A market that's also picking up steam amazingly, right? Well, I shouldn't say amazingly, but I mean awesomely. Let's put it that way. I need to, get some more no hygiene. I say with some reservation here. But I mean, just a spectacular artist here. And you might be wondering, like, for people who are watching the show for the first time, they must think I'm like, are you nuts? But we've chronicled this whole evolution of no hygiene, and when we have more time, we'll go into the history more. Just a rad artist. How much is that going for? If you want to pick up your no hygiene one of one, that is 550 Tezos. You'll have to spend, about $300 there, maybe 350. This is another one. This is on ETH. And let's see here. Let's just leave it here. So no hygiene, incorporating some hearts with the angels and everything. So this one is 0.4 ETH, a one of one on Manifold. Interesting piece here. Here's Hermipe. We are back with Hermipe, and look at the color. The color is actually spectacular, that lime green sky, as well as just the different, here you have pixelation. Wow. And I was looking, like, some of it was smooth, and what I'm wondering to myself is, I think that is just smooth, or it's super high resolution, and Hermipe is using big pixels here. That is also possible. Let's go back to here, though. So this is the work, I think, made physical. So I don't even know how this was done. Maybe we have some information here. Of course, this is, I believe, in Japanese. View all two comments. I don't see the translate here. Let's take another look over here. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So not exactly sure how this is being made, but it looks pretty rad, doesn't it? So Hermipe. Looking good. Here's more Hermipe. Let's see what this says. We have the translate. By drawing the way light hits something while keeping optical illusions in mind, simple shapes can create a complex impression. So it kind of looks like a building, doesn't it? Nice color choice here. Very kind of, a lot of variety, shall we say, in Hermipe's choice of content. Here are some birds with some beautiful vertical pixels here. Let's see what it says. It looks like gray heron. And it's done birds before, though. And so blue heron flying around. So cool work there. This was cool, too. Coalescent filament medium resilience progression continuum. Number 1. Edition of 5. This is sold out. Let's just let the market load up here. So transferred to 2 collectors and, or transferred to Louis and Absurd Deity, artists and collectors. So anyways, cool work. Isn't it nice kind of pixel art abstract? Interesting piece here from It's Nathan, who I haven't seen before. Just give him a quick follow here. There we go. So interesting work. That looks pretty spectacular here too. That's June 10th. So loving these abstracts, these pixel art abstracts. Super interesting. Number 2. Here is Figments, also known as Cap'n, part of QuoteArt's first fully on-chain drop, minted via the zero contract. So nice tiny piece here and animating the water. So again, you see that very powerful effect that Cap'n has been doing for a long time here, which is static and dynamic pixels create movement in certain areas. And what do you get? You get a contrast, right? Because all of a sudden this red house here, another contrast, but the movement or the still moon, you get this contrast between this poetry, this visual poetry, really, between the dynamic and the static, in that contrast, the beauty, really. How to make beauty by Cap'n. Cass check this out. Okay, so we may have seen this before. Of course, I follow Cass Shern. So we may have seen this piece before, right? But check this out. Black. So to me, this brings up just like very interesting issues, which are with digital. I mean, you can literally make 1 million pieces out of one composition. And what are the implications of that? And maybe should 100 different works be made? You can make the argument. You could actually argue it's more original to make 100 different works by just changing the color then Warhol doing the same work, screen printed for an edition of 125, right? So it just brings up and a few artists have explored this. I think actually I've explored this a little bit, but also Louis Osborne, who we're going to see a work from early on, and I think even Ratcloak at one point did some experiments there. So all very interesting. Haiti Rocket. A lot of people do the glitch ROMs, but there's nothing like a Haiti Rocket glitch ROM, is there? Just for whatever reason, his personality just jumps through the hoop, so to speak. Magic. Just awesome. Edition of 3, nice slow edition for Femtez Getting 2. Beautiful piece here. And here's another one by Haiti Rocket, Scan. So I believe this is Scanners. I've never seen it, but of course I've seen the reference a million times of the exploding, I think, newscaster's head. So pesky art here, I believe. ASCII, pesky, cool GIF. Edition of 6, and selling for 42 Tezos. Here are some of these waffles. I think I brought up a couple. There are so many works to go through. This one is spectacular, though. So love the strawberry with the ice skates. And speaking of contrasts, we have this, experimental music contrasting with, there's kind of I don't want to say simple, but there's kind of a formula to this that I've identified a few things, seemingly. These all seem to be each work, and I think I brought up actually the page. As you see, each work is basically based, kind of reminds you of John Baldessari, based on the emoji, at least thematically speaking, is based on the emoji. So here you have a pin, and there's the pin. There you have, not sure what that is, maybe a strawberry. This is a strawberry here, not sure which one this is. Here you have the waves or surf and the surfers. So you have that. And it all seems to be made, I think, with Fantavision. And another beautiful, almost like the coup de grace, so to speak, on this is, and then taking the user interface itself, as you see in this gorgeous burger work, taking the user interface itself as an element here. As you see, say, with the surfer, and thank you, Waffles, for sending me the surfer. The surfer is rad, especially when these insanely awesome offers were coming in. Like this sold for 1,150 Tezos. But what I want to point out here, before I got distracted by the sales, and we'll look at the sales. It's pretty spectacular. It's like the user interface, and now like the color palettes are now being used as basically a visual element in the composition. Simple, but brilliant. Great decision here. And so you have the emoji theme thing, plus you have the eyes, which seem to be a thing. And then you have the user interface of Fanavision, and then the music. So, and then it's just like he has his, formula, right? His process, as you would say in art speak, and that's it. And you're good to go. So, let's just quickly look here at the activity, because the sales were pretty remarkable. Maybe we can do sales here. And how are we doing? I have 15 minutes before. But look at these sales. These are editions of, 6 or 8 or 5. $1,839 or 3,250 Tezos for this work. 2,000, 5,000. That was for a one of one. That went to Daggy D. Wow. $3,000. That was for a one of one, but nevertheless, I think it was within the first few hours. So look at these sales: $2,100, Tezos, 2,100 Tezos, 2,100 Tezos, 1,800 Tezos. And this is my point. Vincent Van Doe buying several. This is my point. It's like there is the money out there. Like, if you can create a persuasive persona, great art, consistently, like, this is green fields. Like, these are green pastures. This is a wonderful place, because there are people that can get really excited about that. So, an exciting area. Look at that. So, amazing. And fabulous artwork. Goyoung Arts, a new one of one. So here, I have it on Twitter. I'm not sure where it was posted. Oh, look at that. William Blake, 1757, 1827. Nice touch. Wonder what that's about. Classic Goyoung Arts, where it's kind of like masked in certain areas and pixelated in the mask. So beautiful work here. Family and Solitude. What an interesting reference to William Blake there in the bottom corner. That has piqued my curiosity. That is for OXCDL, a commission, interestingly. Here's Sabato Burb, a sketch. Pretty interesting. Nice contrast there. Sabato, master of color here. I love that purple. Here I am again with the margins here. I love that purple margin. Nice kind of minimal composition, big brush, interesting piece. Burb. How'd this do? 1,700 views, pretty good. Here is Edmarola. Can we make this larger? Also using sampled brushes in his own way. Look at that. And combining almost pixel art with a little adding some movement. I guess it's all kind of technically pixel art. Look at that. Beautiful work. Unfortunately, I think my computer does not want to play. Oh, that was the entire work here. It's a nice piece from Edmarola. So you see, it becomes really obvious. So only selling for 11 Ts, I guess edition of 11, but still, that probably could have doubled the price. You see all of when you take a few weeks and then you just come back, you see how many spectacular works there are. It's pretty amazing. Another kind of value in doing that. Good Dog Sad, Bien Pero Triste. Interesting. So, Juana Pedro, I believe? Yes, that is the name. Edition of 10 for $7.50. Another super interesting, distinct artist. Sometimes they look like abstracts, sometimes they look like figurative, as you'd say. Look at this, All-Nighter. Edition of 10. Love the color. 20 Tezos, edition of 10. Is that on primary or secondary? Gorgeous piece. And that is on secondary. Selling for how much? $7.50 on primary. Here is Nuv 1914, Konehito. So, Nuv, of course, look at the frame. Hilarious. Okay, I have 10 minutes. I just got a notification on Cap in here, so I gotta speed it up a bit, but the frame is hilarious. You gotta love Nuv 1914. Edgy. Edition of 5. Selling for $11.90 and holding, I think, the last one, going a little higher. That's something also Sabato does. It's not a bad idea, or has done. Rinny Fish, When Bugs Study Alchemy. Just make sure you have the audio. Very fun piece. Kind of a different composition with all the squares here from Rinny Fish. Cool work. Edition of 1. And this is just minted but not listed. And that was today. Here's Dan Control. Of course, I follow Dan Control. Very interesting, hard juxtaposition of elements here. Also incorporating emoji into the work here. We have what looks like some sort of soldier, and then a croc, and then the basic two-color landscape. Really fun, witty work. This is another one. Brilliant. Landscape. This is awesome. Just big emptiness here, and then a whole bunch of modern stuff, I think. You got a phone, you got an e-cigarette. Almost looks like part of a lion. Just the detritus, really, of previous works, maybe. Here's Rat Cloak with some spectacular works, and again, thank you to Waffles for sending me one. The generosity is very impressive. Beherit, edition of 10, and here you go. So continuing this very wild series, gotta love that red carpet. And even almost there's something, like if you look at Magritte, sometimes you see these kind of floor panels. Interesting piece here, interesting shadow. Kind of surreal looking, but really distinctive in the in its approach. To like, I mean, I don't know if surreal's the right word, is what I'm saying, but we can say loosely. Here's another one. Again, almost incorporating like these cartoon-like lines, and then with figures here, a very just kind of like unusual kind of painting here. You know, expertly done. Of course, Photoshop brushes as usual. You see the skill here, and just the the competence, utter competence here of the work, and cool kind of missing eye there in the shadow. Edition of 10, selling now on secondary for 65 and selling out for 35 Tezos each on primary. Here's Louis Osborne, who we were mentioning earlier. Mind, I think this is when crypto was really going higher a couple of weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago. And there you see all of the crypto coins in the happy face. Got to speed up here for capping. Scottie Pippen. This is pretty cool. This is an artist I hadn't seen before. Lekas 33GB. Give them a follow. And so interesting series here of these kind of basketball players that are these kind of one-of-ones, interestingly. So cool, just kind of Patrick Ewing, just cool approach. Here's Oblivion Fields, Gates. So another highly textured work by Oblivion Fields, and always keeping it very interesting, the mark making here. The digital mark making, edition of 1. Here is Oblivion Fields also. And let's just see. And so again, almost looks like stable diffusion type stuff, but I might just be manual. I can't remember if Oblivion Fields uses AI or not. I bet chipmunks have fun lives. This was pretty cool. I think Oblivion Fields might have actually posted this. So kind of goes well, this kind of digital abstract here. And who is this again? And I may have to scan through here. It is Telediophonics. And we'll leave it at that. Edition of 5, cool work. Here's Toucan. Clouds Got Roots. So all kind of working nicely together here. I think Oblivion Fields may have tweeted one out too. So interesting textured works. Here's Kazuhiro Ehira, putting out some interesting pieces here. A beautiful contrast with the pixels. So a animated abstract. Some great colors. Met the caps. As we continue, and here is Cider, Agartha. So here we see what looks like kind of some trees in a landscape, maybe a path here, hyper textured, as Cider does. Here's Kyle Flemmer, who of course I follow. Now we're cooking. Indeed, it's looking pretty good there. So Kyle Flemmer doing a lot of, doing some glitch ROM, doing some video glitch, doing a few different works there. I think I saw Vincent Van Doe by some of the McDonald's works, which is great. Canik Zapata, Selfie. Of course, I follow Canik Zapata. So interesting pieces here posted on X, and we have another one. Kind of feels like part of a new series. Not sure, part of GIF Art Day. Cool masking here. It's funny how much I like the errors, the so-called errors, so to speak. There's something about it. Here is Zofie Ogor, Yuri. And so a few works here by Zofie Ogor. This is edition of 8. Is that still available? One left on primary. Next piece here. Here's another one, Friday the 13th. Of course, last Friday was Friday the 13th. This is HTML. So cool work here. Kind of edgy horror work from Zofie Ogor. And here's Arcade, also by Zofie Ogor. So a smaller work, which I am magnifying. I think a bit of animation there. And addition of 6, and that is 20 Tezos on secondary. Here's Element Lee with a few works, boxes. It's too bad Element Lee doesn't mint on Object anymore, or on Tezos. I'm not sure if Element Lee does NFTs anymore. You don't really see them so much. I haven't at least noticed on X, but you do see them on Instagram. Here is another cool work, kind of looks like a forklift or something. So cool work, I believe, made on the phone. This seems to be using ASCII, right? Or maybe not ASCII, but like letters or text is also being incorporated. Here is Nicholas Dietrich. The cooling dew was flaming nitrogen. And I believe Nicholas was saying this was from a park in Paris, where he just was, that inspired him. So nice work there. Addition of 20. 39 Tezos on secondary. And here's Dan Kelly, who of course I follow. Kind of love this play on Draw Dog Tuesday. I kind of love this play on Matisse, The Dance. Here's Strano, Happy GIF Anniversary. So beautiful piece here from Strano. Gorgeous. Animated abstract, animated pixel art abstract. Here's one by Kristen Roos, edition of 50. This is 9 Tezos, so nice work here. So tons of great art, as you can see. Shimmer Cycle. Here's Jean Provencher, put out by Verseworks. So exciting times here for art on the blockchain. As you see, so Jean Provencher, who we've been looking at, Renato Marini. Let me quickly message Cap in here. Quickly. So Renato Marini, you know what this reminds me of is Max Ernst's Garden Airplane Traps. Will be 5 mins late. So Renato Marini and finishing show. Thank you, Cap'n. send an extra work to Cap'n. So Renato Marini, beautiful. Kind of reminds me of Garden Airplane Traps by Max Ernst. If we had more time, I'd show you. This was cool. This is on Gamma Heritage Grids, Ordinal ran by One Monkey Crypto. Nice abstract here. A nice, simple, two-color abstract. Here's Francois Gamma. And cool work here. This is posted for GIF Art Day on Instagram. And also here's Muji. Love this piece, Dawngate. So I believe this is using Deluxe Paint. Kind of a Portal edition of 16 for 666. Here's Gogolitis with Svetlana Bogatyrieva, The Silence Between Levels. So not sure. So I guess a collaboration here. Love it. Kind of reminds you of Escher. Is this impossible? Not sure, but looking pretty cool. So edition of 12 for 50 Tezos. Strano, Where Will You Sit When the Music Stops? Another work by Strano. So cool, kind of fun, showing chairs, fun kind of 3D work. Alpha Centauri, or 3D looking, I'm Not Going Anywhere. I believe this is posted in the community, so cool. Almost has a bit of a kind of a cubist kind of feel to it in the approach to the interior. So a nice piece there, kind of looks like CGI maybe. As we go into the spectacular physicals, for those who have stayed, you are about to get a treat. So here you have Bobichik Mattia Whippets, the gorgeous piece here. Here, Moto Hero, Mickey Boy, spectacular. This is, I could start the show with this. This is exciting as hell. This is gorgeous. So original. Look at this. Ario To Jojo. This is awesome too. Here we have basically from the Army, Air Force footage. Here, Chicken Broth by Jess Felice, and taking this very modern, depiction of chicken from the supermarket. Here, Machine, AI Could Never, interesting title, and kind of looks like Michael Jackson. Is it drooling? I don't know. So here's Moto Hero again. Here, kind of looking more like a comic book. Really rad piece here. Here's Esther Periskova, posted by It's Not Gallery. Also, again, I don't know what it is about these Disney characters, but it sure works. Maybe Tweety Bird. Maybe that's Looney Tunes. Here's Martin Joe, that I was mentioning earlier. A lovely exhibition. Look at this. So I believe... Not sure if this is going to work. Look at that. So you see, Martin Bruce knows what he's doing with paintbrushes here. And so look at that, working on a test drive work. You could almost stop there, or at least just go a little further, and you can almost like just a little bit further. But this all looks gorgeous. Very interesting. And here's Luciana Guerra, posted by Cosimo de Medici here. Beautiful piece. I don't remember seeing this one. Not sure if it was submitted for, I think it was submitted for this art tank thing. And let's actually see. Okay, yeah. So I'm just seeing how he does the sponsor. I have to put Decentraland happily as a sponsor here on my tweet, just looking at how Cosimo does it. So cool. Love it looks, you know what I think this is? Like color work that's been turned into monochrome. So again, digital to physical and back. Nugget Brain, millennially infected wax pastel drawings. So another gorgeous work by Nugget Brain, Joey from Friends. And here's just more, just really fun, exciting work. Wonder how much these go for. Free Britney, and maybe some kids. This is spectacular work. This was a commission. Made a fun little one special for my friend, or maybe just as a gift. Not done with these Spider-Man memes. Send good ones. This one's excellent. Look at this. So Kayla Mattis has found her process. It's spectacular. Thank you for joining me. I have got to meet Cap'n. Thank you for your patience, and thank you for all the support. I hope you enjoyed the show. Until next time, take care.